What up guys, my name is Adrian from YouMotorcycle. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys 4 really important tips for buying a motorcycle for your first ever motorcycle restoration project. Restoring a motorcycle can be an absolute beautiful thing. It's kind of like magic. You're taking something that's been forgotten and neglected. You're taking something that's been forgotten and neglected for like 20 years and you're going to be bringing it basically to brand new again. In fact, you're probably making it better than brand new because today's tires and fluids and suspension, everything we have today is so much better than what they had 30, 40 years ago. So you can actually buy an old motorcycle for like 500 bucks and make it better than it ever was for another 1,000. That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. 4 tips on how to buy a motorcycle that will make this project not easy, but easier than buying the wrong bike. All right, now the first question that people ask me is, can I buy a motorcycle that doesn't come with an ownership? And if you were buying, like a bike that was only a couple years old, I would be kind of sketched out by that. But if you're buying a bike where it's a barn find, it's something that's been sitting for 10, 20 years, you can't be surprised if you find that people have lost their ownerships over the years. And it's not the end of the world. You can get that back, but you still need to protect yourself. The most important thing you need to do is get the VIN number. The VIN number is a vehicle identification number. It's basically printed on the steering stem. So you're going to find it right on the frame, kind of right along here, except not on this side of the headlight, on the right side of the bike, so the other side of the headlight. You get that VIN number. If it's ever been reported stolen, if it's ever been reported missing, if you see anything like stolen or missing, stay the hell away from that bike. Crazy accident was written off by insurance, stay away from that bike. There's nothing on there in the last 10 years, then it's probably just been sitting for 10 years and they just lost the paperwork. Not a big deal. You can get a new ownership printed. I have a website. I will link to it in the description box. I wrote this article because I had bought a motorcycle and the guy gave me a bill of sale. He gave me the keys, gave me the bike, I paid him, and he said, I don't have the ownership, I'll get it for you. And then he went to the other side of the country and never came back. And I never heard from him again, and he totally ghosted me. Luckily at the time I was working and we had a couple lawyers who worked in the office and I asked them for their advice. They gave me some tips. I share all of the advice that they gave me, along with, they created a document for me that I have on my website. You can buy it for like $3 instead of paying a lawyer yourself. I'll link to it again down below. It's $3 and it's just a template. You fill it out and you bring that to the DOT or you bring that to the Ministry of Transportation along with your bill of sale. They will print you a brand new ownership. Takes all the stress out of it and you don't have to pay any kind of legal costs. You just get it notarized and you're good. I got all kinds of tips on that down below. We'll skip ahead to the next question people ask, which is, should I pay the asking price on a motorcycle that would be my first restoration project bike? And the answer is no, because for every one thing you see that's wrong, there's probably something else hidden that you can't see. There's always unexpected costs and whatnot. My advice, never pay asking price unless you see a listing and your first reaction, your gut reaction is, oh my God, I can't believe that this bike is selling for that price. In which case, get there as quickly as you can because somebody else is gonna offer the money up right away. When you get there, still, be cautious because sometimes if something is too good to be true, it might be, but unless you're seeing something that thinks that's a really good price, damn, never pay asking price. Third question people ask is, should I buy a motorcycle that isn't running? This depends on your skill level. If you are prepared and you have the capacity to rebuild a motorcycle engine, because you might have to, then go ahead and buy a bike that isn't working. But if the thought of tearing an entire motorcycle engine apart and having to rebuild it yourself, assuming you can figure out what's wrong with it, is like, oh my God, then do not buy a motorcycle that isn't running. Let's save that for someone else. I'll get into problem solving in another video, but if it takes more than what your skill set is able to do, you're gonna be paying a shop like $100 an hour to rebuild that engine. It's gonna take a lot of hours to rebuild that engine. You might find that there's some parts that are damaged inside that you can't find. It doesn't have to run. It just has to like idle for just a couple seconds, just enough that you can kind of hear things are moving. There's nothing blocked up in there. There's nothing seized up. That's what you want unless you're comfortable rebuilding a motor all by yourself. And the fourth and final question is, what brand of motorcycle should I buy for my first motorcycle restoration project? A lot of people come into this and they have these kind of romanticized ideas of, I'm going to buy an old Triumph, I'm going to buy an old Norton, I'm going to buy an old BMW, Harley Davidson, whatever. For their first motorcycle restoration project, I don't recommend people buy European or American motorcycles. I recommend, whether it's Honda, Suzuki, Yamaha, or Kawasaki, you go Japanese. And here's why. Old American bikes, there's actually a decent amount of demand for them. So even though they are plentiful here, the demand drives up the cost of the bike. The demand also drives up the cost of used parts. The European bikes, there is still demand for them, and there's even less supply, and parts are even harder to come by, which means that your first project, I mean, there's going to be so much stuff that you're not expecting that it could be going wrong, or you're going to look at it and think, oh man, like it's only going to cost me $100 to replace that part. Maybe I should just replace that part. If you buy a Japanese bike as your first bike for your first project, it's going to go so much easier than if you're buying something that's already kind of a more expensive brand that's going to be harder to find parts for. My advice, if it's your first motorcycle restoration, keep it simple, go Japanese. Do your dream restoration build once you've gotten all the kinks out, once you've learned all the tips. I'm going to be sharing like 25 more tips with you guys in other videos. If you guys want to see those, hit that subscribe button, please. I would appreciate that. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit that like button. That's it for me. Next video will be probably coming out in about a week or so, maybe a few days, and that's going to be on just general strategies that you need to keep in mind, strategies and tactics to keep in mind while you're actually in the process of doing your rebuild. Subscribe if you want to see that video, hit the little bell notification button, and you will get an alert when it comes out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate this. My name is Adrian from YouMotorcycle.com, and that's it. Ride safe, but have fun. Peace.